that, I'll just give a little bit of background about water here at Boulder Creek Farm. You know, we've been farming here for
9 years?
10 years, 9 years. And there's a big tank whenever in the parking lot. And basically the rainfall falls and it fills up the tank in the winter time, and then there's 90,000 gallons of water there, and we use it throughout the summer. And so that's been kind of carrying us for the first 6 years of farming here at Alder Creek. But every year we keep on expanding, and the group has gone from like 15 people to about 40 people this year. So our water needs are just expanding. So in about year 6 or 7, we started pumping from the creek to fill the tank about halfway through the year. Say late July or August, we would start pumping from the creek. Pumping from the creek's not really a good idea because, you know, we have logging occurring right upstream, and there's possible pesticides that could flush down at some point, and we'd be pumping that into our tank and then watering our organic farm with the pesticide-free water. So last year we actually put in a Sandpoint well that's sitting over there in the corner.
Bravo!
We're able to produce about a hose worth of water with that. And you might say, why do we, you know, what do we want to do with just a hose worth of water? Well, we basically water the entire garden with a hose worth of water. We divided the garden up into six different zones, and then each zone is about a hose worth of water. And it just starts watering at like 3 o'clock in the morning and alternates days, and it'll water till 8 o'clock in the morning, and water everything twice a week for 2 hours a day, or 2 hours during their water period. So essentially, this is one of the systems here set up, kind of the full system. This has both the drip tape and the propagation system that's all brand new for this year. So basically the drip tape has emitters every 9 inches, and it waters about 16 inches wide for each piece of drip tape. And so you have a 48-inch wide row, you put in 3 drip tapes. You have a 32-inch wide row, you put in 2 16-inch wide, this one. Now we also have radishes planted here, so we set up this propagation system, and they're just little mini sprinklers with 5-foot radiuses, and Carl's going to turn them on and we're going to see what they do. And all they do is just mist twice a day for 15 minutes and every day, and just keeps the surface nice and wet. Now I also read up, and people are using this on their lettuces in order just to keep their lettuces wet. So we're kind of doing an experiment here, and we'll see how well it does, and if we develop molds or anything else, and if we don't, we'll just probably leave these on our leafy greens and use them to water daily. So other than that, this year has been kind of a catch-up. This is our first year. Last year we were about 50% soaker hoses and 50% this system. It was a test year to prove that the system would work. We didn't know if it would work in these sandy soils. We didn't know if our water was clean enough. We didn't know lots of things. So we kind of started by doing one zone, seeing if it worked, and then decided that it worked, and then put in the infrastructure in order to do all the other zones. And so we're literally installing this stuff for the first time this year in the complete garden. So that's why things are taking a little bit of time. So we're catching up, and we're trying to keep up, and we're, you know, just lagging behind a week or two. So whenever you put in a new plant, it's your responsibility to take care of that plant until you see these lines on those plants. And once you see those lines, then you know that it's being watered twice a week for 2 hours each time.
That is just like a minor miracle after all the hand watering and coming to set water on beds for all these years.
Yeah, in the past we had somebody to come in the morning to turn water on the timer, and then in the afternoon somebody, as we grew, we hadn't too many zones, so we had to then have somebody. So we had 14 trips a week of people coming and going for watering, and not only is it not efficient, but you know, we're burning fossil fuels to get here,
And it
and
wasn't always adequate.
right. So this
Yeah,
is
we had, and that was to water once a week, and we had 23 zones at one point that people had to keep track of, 23 different places to hook hoses to manually.
and
Like,
turn
so-
timers
and
on
turn
that sometimes
timers on.
failed. And
Sometimes failed, and then people go on vacation, or people have an emergency, or just, or you know, and things happen. So now, the other thing that's great about this system, we have these weird days that pops up to 90 degrees in a few hours, and in the past our plants just suffered seriously from those high heat days. Right now I can go, anybody in the water team and a couple individuals can go and push a button on the timer, and they'll basically start watering the entire garden and go 1 zone, 2 zone, 3 zone, 4 zone, 5 zone, and water it throughout that hot day, or if we know that it's coming, the evening before we water, and then we hit it up that following evening.
Dan?
Yes.
Ready for questions? A minute.
Oh, go ahead.
So one thing, what about like, how are we gonna know if there's a hole in the line, if it's running overnight and no one's here to witness?
We're just checking it like once a week. So we had zone 1 or zone 4 on today, and we saw a leak over in the strawberries, and it's just a quick fix.
Okay.
So if anybody, yeah, they're running whenever nobody's here, so there's no way for us to know other than checking every once in a while.
Okay, so you'll kind of go through and manually check.
if you see an unusually wet area in your row, this is something that we should all be doing anyway, is for each of your crops, when you come, you should observe what your crop's doing, and if you see a great big round moist spot, that is an indicator that you've got a leak, and then let one of the water team people know.
Or
You know, we could probably get some sort of a system where we would flag it and then send an email to you if you're
Right.
not here.
And then also if you see a dry area or a stressed area that's not getting watered, such as over in the onions as an example. Last year we had some pumpkins there, and we actually had this drip tape underground. So you know, the pumpkins were planted, and we put the drip tape underground. Well, I think that doing that and then leaving it underground all winter, it actually got dirt into the line and plugged half of the line, and you can actually see that half of the row of onions are not getting watered and are suffering miserably. So we'll replace that line and just toss it away and put in a new one.
And speaking of which, I brought more onion sets so that we can fill in those rows, whoever the onion team is, so come see me. And I'll
Dan, when we first started putting in the well, you did a little calculation where it looked like we're getting about 5 gallons every 45 seconds. Is that still your general feeling of how much
still
water?
our general water.
And
It's a good
there's
hose worth.
and there's no trace of salt water in that.
No trace of salt water. So, you know, we're sitting around 20-foot elevation, and basically the well is at 13-foot elevation, and fresh water sits on top of the salt water. So it's just it's called a perched water table. And what we have here is a very